There we go.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to yet another I Had No Idea podcast. I'm excited. Today I'm here with,
East accounts.
and it's cool because we worked together recently,
Yeah.
and that's kind of how this got
Mhm.
to be about. So I think it's cool because we're from the same place.
But we've never actually hung out at all. We have mutual friends,
Yeah.
but I have never actually I've seen you,
Mhm.
but this is our second time ever being around each other for more than 2 seconds.
Yeah. So I'm eager and excited to learn more about you and to hear your stories
Mhm.
and to dive deeper. So, one, thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
Appreciate
happy to.
it.
I'm excited.
And thank you for making the trip up here.
Yeah, it's not that bad. My family lives up here, so
Okay,
yeah,
good.
not terrible.
I kind of honestly just kick things off right off the bat with,
Okay.
Can you tell us a time or a moment in your life that you were kind of going through it and you weren't really sure if you were going to make it to the end, but
Yeah.
what helped you get through it?
Okay.
And this could be one story, multiple
Yeah,
stories,
no,
multiple instances, a piece from here
so
and there.
yeah, I kind of went so I grew up in a pretty my mom was great. Me and my dad had an iffy relationship. My stepdad was super abusive, and I was always just a mentally ill kid. And I think that it kind of all came to a head when I was 19. So I'm bisexual. I've been very openly queer my entire life. It's never been a secret, but it's also not something that I shout from the rooftops or anything. And my little sister, she's my half sister, my stepdad's daughter. She is a lesbian. I've known that since she was 4 or 5. Sometimes you just know. And with her, it was always obvious. But my stepdad was pretty homophobic growing up, and he thought that I was influencing her into the devil's work and all that stuff. And he and I, I grew up having a screaming match with my stepdad every single night for my entire teenage years and my whole childhood. And it was, obviously that sucked. But he and I got into it one night, and he essentially realized that my sister was questioning being gay and kicked me out.
Took it out on you.
Yeah, he kicked me out. I was homeless.
Wow.
I didn't tell anybody. Obviously, if I had told somebody, and my friends always, they're like, if you had told me, I was like, yeah, I know, but I was embarrassed. So I was living in my car for a little bit, and then I moved in with some people, and kind of got into some pretty dangerous stuff. And that was, I think, when I was like, oh my God, if I keep going the way that I'm going, after a year of living with these people who are doing crazy stuff and just putting myself in danger over and over and over again just to feel something after, getting kicked out of my family home. And that was obviously really traumatic. And I was putting myself in just all of these weird, scary situations. And I looked in the mirror one day and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm going to die if I don't quit doing this. I'm literally my life will end if I don't get my shit together. So I sobered up. I moved out. I was crashing on couches just to stay away from the home that was causing me to do all this crazy stuff. And I became a teacher. And that's what I've been doing. I just kind of, the one thing that the only way that people can get better is if they want to. You have to want to get better, because all of those people are still doing the same shit. I mean, they're alive. That's great. They have friends that have died though. It's not like death hasn't touched that group. And you cannot get better if you don't want to. And it took, my mom was begging me, my friends were begging, everyone was like, you just get better, get better, get better. And it was literally until I wanted it for myself that I could actually, and then I did, and it was super successful. And I have a great job now. I work, my dream job. I love it. I work the coolest job ever. I get to hang out with toddlers all day and be barefoot and dig in gardens and just do all this really fun stuff. And I would have never thought that this is what I would have been doing, 4 years ago when I was living in that house. Because but I think the one thing that gets anybody out of anything is yourself. You don't have anybody else. It's just you. So you kind of have to face yourself head on.
And so do you think for your instance, do you think you kind of had to do a full 180? Or do you think that you would have been able to maybe still do some of those things, but also kind of pull yourself out of that place you were in?
So it was kind of that. it was kind of that. So I definitely like one of the things that I was doing was drinking all the time. I still have to go to the bar. I can still go to the bar and party. I'm gonna probably do that tonight. And like I can still do stuff like that. And but like the like weekends long of like staying up all night, all day, all night, all day, calling out of work just to not, just to party, just to do this. That I feel like certain things have to be full stop. Like you can trickle fun things into your life, like especially like being in your 20s. Like obviously you're going to want to party, you're going to have fun. But there are some things that like work for some people and don't work for other people. And what I was doing was not working for me, and I had to full stop
Yes.
pretty much all of it,
Yeah.
and then gradually put it back into my life in a safer way because I just wasn't being safe. And
Yeah.
your life is precious. You only get the one. So
Yeah. I think that's really cool that you're
yeah.
able to still find a balance, and I think
Mm-hmm.
it's super cool that you're able to, you're able to take yourself out of that and look and think, okay, well, I still want this in my life, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe this isn't in my life, but I also still want this in my life. And I think a beautiful thing about that is it shows how you are able to still have those things in your life, but you're responsible and you realize, okay, if I want to, keep this job, if I want to
Yeah.
keep these relationships, that I can't, I have to prioritize certain things.
Yes.
So I
Yep.
think that's really powerful that you said that, and I think it's also important because I think a lot of times people think, okay, you can only do one thing or the other. I
It's
can,
dialectics.
yeah, it's
It's literally the dialectic theory. That's what it is. Like two things that seem like opposites can be true at the exact same time.
yeah,
I want to stop doing these things, and I also want to keep this. And those two things can exist at the same time. I want to get better, but I don't want to full stop everything.
yeah.
Dialectics are so cool. I did dialectical behavioral therapy for a long time. It life changing stuff. Life
Please,
changing
I
stuff.
would love to. I'm not as
Yeah.
well versed as you are, so I'd love to learn a little bit more about that.
Yeah. That was one of the things I wanted to talk about on the little podcast, was that I have trichotillomania, which is a body focused repetitive behavior. Most people have some kind of a BFRB, the body focus, and it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a behavior that's focused on your body that you do over and over. The big ones that are mostly talked about are what I have: hair pulling, which presents in eyelashes, eyebrows. For men, a lot of men, beard hair, mustache hair, and then for me, the top of my head, leg hair, all that. Nail biting is probably the most common one, and then nose picking, skin picking, people who pick at their skin all the time. Super common. A lot of people have it. Not a lot of people have it to the severity that I had it growing up. I had a buzz cut for 8 or 9 years because I couldn't stop pulling. I had all these, patchy, big bald spots. So my parents, as a last ditch effort, because nothing was working, and because unfortunately, like trichotillomania is something that I will have for the rest of my life. I will have it. I'll never. It's something that I had to come to terms with. It's a DBT term, the radical acceptance. You just, whether I like it or not, this is just the truth. So I will have it forever. But they put me in DBT, and it is a behavioral therapy. So they give you, it's cooler than any other therapy. I've been in therapy since like 11, and I'm so picky now. I have to, it's got to be skills based, and they hand you a binder full of skills, and then you sit with your therapist, and you sit in group sessions and then one-on-one sessions, and you'll learn. Because a lot of people, especially teenagers, I was 16 when I did this,
Okay.
don't know. You don't you, like no, there's no guidebook on how to function as somebody with mental illness. There just isn't. DBT kind of offers that. It literally is just they hand you the book. They teach you how to have interpersonal skills. Like for someone who grew up in a super emotionally abusive household, I had no idea how to have a healthy relationship, whether that be friendship, romantic, familial. I couldn't have a healthy relationship, and they'd work you through how to have hard conversations without getting angry. And then then there's those crisis skills, which I needed so badly back when I was like 16. Like they teach you about why panic attacks happen and how to like physically stop them, because it comes from your brainstem. So if you can shock your brainstem, most of the time it shocks it enough for you to be able to calm down. And it's like learning those kinds of skills, and getting to be in a room of my peers and their parents, of course, because we were minors. Your parents come with, it's like family therapy. um, and to be in a room of my peers, of other people dealing with so many different problems. Like one of them had a drug problem, one of them had something like me. I was pulling my hair, she was picking her skin. Another kid was running away constantly. Like all behaviors that hurt you are bad behaviors. And the cool thing about being in that space was that there wasn't any mine's worse than yours. It was a we're both struggling with a behavior, and how are you handling yours this week? Well, I was invited out to a party and I sat and I did Dear Man, which is one of the skills, with my mom. And then she had, and they went through, I can't like tell you everything because like it was like,
Right.
8 years ago,
Yeah.
but she like talked me through like the skills that she used. And I was like, that's great. This week, I had a panic attack at my house because, my stepdad was yelling at me. And one thing that I did all the time in the winter is I went outside when I was having, a panic attack where I couldn't breathe. I put a bikini on and I laid out in the snow, and it shocked my brainstem, calmed me down, and I was able to sleep. I was able to go home or go upstairs and take a breath and calm down. Or I got really panicked at school. I splashed cold water on my face, and even though my makeup came off, I could breathe again, and I wasn't throwing up. And it was really cool, like, to be with my peers. And like, even though they may have been dealing with like completely different behaviors, the skills applied to all of us, and I still use them. I'm in therapy right now, but my therapist, she's trained in DBT, but I'm not in DBT because my insurance doesn't cover that shit. That's expensive. So she and I will go through and I'll be like, yeah, I did this week, and this made me feel this way. And she was like, oh, well, that's a skill. You just used a skill. And I was like, oh, I guess I did retain some of that information when I was 16. And a lot of the stuff that I learned in that therapy, I will use the rest of my life, just because it genuinely helps. And talk therapy is one thing. Some people that works for them. That doesn't work for me. I can talk for the rest of my life and not solve anything, but to have concrete step by step instructions on how to handle hard situations, that's going to work for me every time. So it's great. It's really cool. And there's a lot of resources online that people can look at for free, and I'm pretty sure the books are downloadable, like on just like Google. But it's really cool stuff. I do recommend looking into it if
awesome.
you or anybody needs something like that. It's really cool.
Yeah, when you were saying some of the things like shocking yourself, like splashing water, it makes me think. One of my friends did, I think, behavioral
CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, probably.
I think, honestly, I'm not too sure. I'm probably gonna butcher it, but she basically would work with a lot of kids who would have like ADHD, stuff like that. And she was telling me when I was younger that a lot of things you can kind of not diagnose, but kind of self medicate.
Yeah, self-regulate.
Yeah, self-regulate. Thank you. And she was saying how so like ever since I was a kid, I knew that I had ADHD really, really bad.
Me too.
Yeah. It wasn't like how a lot of people would say, oh, like really can't focus, certain things. So like that was the norm. So like if you didn't fit that box and you didn't have it, mine was just like I just couldn't focus. So like anything I heard something, saw something, I just couldn't. Like all my brain receptors were going off. But she broke it down and she was saying how in school sometimes like a weighted backpack. I always had all my books in my bag for no reason.
Me too. Oh my gosh.
Because it was comforting.
Yes, it is comforting. Yes.
I always like to wear hats because it felt comforting. I always like to wear sunglasses because it narrowed my frame of what I saw.
So you weren't so.
Yeah. So it's just like little things like that. And when she told me that, I'm like, holy crap! My whole life I've been doing these things to help, and I didn't even know.
You didn't even realize, like, because it's fun to talk to other people and be like, because I did the same thing. I also put all my books in my backpack. My stepdad was insane. He used to ground me if my backpack was too heavy. Dude was crazy. Yeah. But I didn't realize like that the weight was so comforting. Like it was comforting to have, I just bumped that. Sorry. Like it was comforting to have that like on my body. And, things like for me today, I intentionally knew I was going to be talking about mental health, and I was like, I'm going to bring my little ring that I fuck with when I'm, talking, because this is satisfying to me. I like the bumps on it are nice, and things like that. And I've always been a person that wore rings and I didn't realize what it was, but I couldn't focus unless I was fucking with something. Like because my body moves, I move, I talk with my hands, my eyes get big, I get passionate. And in school, when a teacher would say something I would disagree with, I'd just sit there and, okay, you're pissing me off. And because I can't just jut into every conversation. Learned that very quickly by getting in trouble in 4th grade for interrupting the teacher because she was pissing me off. But yeah, no, that kind of self-regulation, I bring stuff like that with me to work, specifically for my hair,
Mm-hmm.
because nap time has been my struggle with my job, because toddlers are toddlers and some of them don't stay still, and
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately that's one of the rules in my classroom. And so I'd get really anxious, and my self-regulation in my abusive household was my trick. That was my hair pulling. I would pull hair. Like, that's why I was bald. You see my hair now. I started growing it out February of 23 because my life got good again. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, I have hair now. It's very exciting stuff, but I still do yank at it. And I noticed bald patches beginning to form again. Up top is where I always pull. And so my self regulation are these little like sensory brushes. You like brush them on, but I fuck with the little hair things on them
Right.
because it is like some kind of self regulation. The thing I've been doing lately has been playing Minecraft because then both my hands
Hmm.
are distracted. If the children are sleeping, I can play Minecraft on my
Mm-hmm.
phone. You know, they don't care. They're asleep. They don't know what's going on. But yeah, that kind of self regulation stuff does totally carry into adulthood. I didn't
Yeah.
think I was like, oh, when I'm an adult, I'll be totally fine. I won't even have to do any of this stuff. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my god, I can't leave the house without my necklace. I can't leave the house without my rings. And if I don't have my brushes, I'm gonna tweak out during nap time. And
Yeah.
yeah, so it's that stuff's nuts.
I
How
tell
much we do it without even realizing.
Yeah, I tell people if I'm having a conversation and I'm not moving, then it means that I'm probably not paying attention. Like if I'm
Yep.
just like not moving, I'm zoned out. But if I'm, fidgeting,
Mm-hmm.
bouncing, shaking, moving, then you have my attention.
Yeah.
So, and they always throw people off. But I'm like, I promise you, I know it's the opposite. So I know you probably think because I'm fidgeting and moving, I'm not listening.
Mm-hmm.
But because I am, I'm very
It's
focused.
because I'm trying to regulate my body so I can keep myself focused because
Yeah.
I want to wiggle, but you're talking and I'm actually interested. So I
Hmm.
need to do my own. You keep fucking with my dress. I'm sure
Yeah.
people will see that on the.
Yeah.
But
Sometimes I do too. I'll like really hold like a certain part of my body really
mm-hmm.
really firmly.
Yeah.
So it's I don't know. I think that helps because sometimes I have to be in situations or if I'm presenting or something in front of people where I
You can't.
can't. You know.
Yeah.
So I've learned that. That's been a nice tip that I've shared before. That's helped me personally.
Mm-hmm.
But another question for you is obviously relationships, friendships come and go.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a situation that you've been through that's been hard that you can kind of expand on. And this could either be, losing a friend, maybe it was death, maybe it was just the friendship wasn't working out, maybe a relationship.
Um, there were two big things that happened around this time last year. That was my biggest, most detrimental time in my life. So I was with a guy. I was actually supposed to get married to him this year. Obviously, single as hell. You know, that's not happening. But he and I had gotten to a point like he was. I really thought he was the love of my life. I really did. I was done with the dating thing. I was so happy, and then things started to become unhealthy. He started drinking more, and then he couldn't be nice to me unless he was stoned. And then the more he would drink if he didn't smoke, because he went to jail for weed, and so then he had to be sober for court. We both did. And the anger started to get out of control. There was a time when police were called because he was screaming at me so loudly, and that same night it was the first time he shoved me, and that kind of stuff. And I realized that I was dating my stepdad. I realized I was dating somebody that, and I don't have any hate to him. Like, I still love him so very much. Like, not in love with him, but like, there's still, you live with somebody for 2 years. There's going to be something there. And I finally built the courage and I packed my shit and I left. And then 4 days later, my grandmother died. The one I was closer to than anybody. She's the reason I was in Wichita last weekend, because it was the anniversary of her death. And I sat with her and had a picnic at her grave. But yeah, those two huge things happened at the same time, and I did not think I was going to get through it. I did not like to lose my person. I mean, the reason I stayed for so long is because he was my best friend. Like, yeah, he did all this bad stuff, and yeah, things were hard, but like at the end of the day, like that was like my person. Like, we got each other in a way that like no one's ever understood me. He helped me grow my hair. He had the acceptance and the kindness to offer me the space to get better. And my mental health did get better while I was with him. And then the drinking just got to a point, and I didn't want to abandon him because he had helped me in my time of need, but it was getting to a point where I was in danger. And to lose him and then immediately lose her was so, I was going through so many different types of grief at the same time. And like, it was, yeah, I've been through some shit, and that was, I will easily say, the worst couple months of my life, because she died and he was in my phone being like, just come home, just come home. And I was like, my grandmother just died and you want to talk about our relationship, when what you should have done was get in your car and come here and comfort me. And instead you're angry at me for leaving. And like, if he, I don't know, sometimes I think like if he'd handled it differently, maybe we could have gotten back together. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. And like, but yeah, that was life altering. That was a life altering grief that I went through. And I got through it the same way I've got through everything, which was my circle, my people, my group of friends. They Emily, my best friend, when I told her what was happening to me, she gave me a week. And she came over that night while he was at work, and she packed all of my stuff. Wow. Because I couldn't do it. And she put it in her house, and she housed me until I could get an apartment. And she slept in my bed when I couldn't sleep because I was used to sleeping with him. And she sat with me at 3:00 in the morning while I was crying. She drove to my grandmother's funeral with me, even though she'd never met the woman. And she left Wichita early. And when I came home, because I'd literally just moved in and had all my shit in boxes, and left the funeral together and to come home to, she had set up my room, beautifully decorated it, and so that I could come home. And like things like that, my friend Jaden, just all these like people, like just surrounding myself with my people I would not have gotten through it if it was not for those two girls and my mom and my sisters. Like seriously, there are just times when you need to be carried, and my friends did a damn good job carrying me, because I could not function. And they did it, and now they helped me apply for the job that I have now, and they helped me, I did not think I was going to make it, and they got me, and I'm good now.
That's incredible. Now. I love hearing that.
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
It
shout
was
out to
insane.
Your friends.
Yeah, shout out to my friends. I love them. There is nothing better as a person than having like your people. Like it is just like having like a village. Is just there's nothing better than that. Nothing better.
I know, to be honest, I've never really had that. I've had like my family support, and I've had like growing up, I had like friend groups, but I never really got to feel. It was never really to that extent.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's wonderful. I hope you find that. I hope you find that. I really do.
I hope the universe sends me that one day.
They will. It will.
I have one homie, and he's like, I call him my brother now.
Yeah,
because
that's how it feels.
There's nothing else that could get us closer.
We bicker like siblings, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and I have another new homie who's kind of getting to that position too.
Yeah,
which is really cool. So I hope that as life goes on, that I can eventually have them closer in my life, and can financially afford to offer them to like move out to where I'm at, and to just have that, because I know like having their support and having us all around each other would really, I think, be a beautiful thing, because it would build us all, and
it's
it would
really special.
Be a really good base, and a lot of cool stuff could get accomplished. So that's awesome that you have that.
Humans are we're pack animals. You need your people. Like it's just I hate it when people are like, I'm a lone wolf. Shut up. No, you're not. Nobody is. There is nobody out there that truly, genuinely enjoys being alone all of the time. That is just not it. And I isolated myself for so long, and like, I have my two girls that I've been friends with for 10 years, Emily and Jaden. And then I've made this whole new group of friends just like last November. And like, they have become just like equally as important as these people. So it's, you don't have to have like the forever connection. Sometimes it's better, because once you've gotten to this point in the friendship, you do bicker like your old ladies, and you hate each other, and it's like, oh, you're a fucking whore. Well, you're a whore. Well, I love you. Call me if you need anything. Like it's, but it's, I hope that you find something similar, because it is truly like when you really need it, you really need it.
Yeah.
And they were my little saving graces, each and every one of them.
Yeah.
It's a good crew.
That's awesome.
It is.
Hopefully I can have a conversation with them one day too. You know, I'd love to have them on the, I mean, obviously I've known Jaden for so long.
I would say, yeah, you know Jaden.
So that'd be fun too.
Bree's fun. She's a fun person to talk to. You'd enjoy talking to Bree. I can't do anything but talk to her. She's just a hoot, as she would say. She's a hoot.
You know, with being, let's see, was there a time that you kind of like, was there a time that stands out when you were in high school and when you had, you know, when you had the buzz cut?
Mm-hmm.
Was there a time where somebody just really got under your skin? And then was there a time that someone was like really comforting and kind of maybe surprised you with like their kindness?
Someone got under my skin. It wasn't really the kids that were hard. I mean, yeah, they laughed. They were mean when I had a wig for a second, which in hindsight was embarrassing. I should have just rocked the buzz cut. But I wanted to know what I looked like with long hair, and I didn't think I was ever going to have it. You know, at that time, I really thought that was as good as it was going to get. Everyone says it gets better, and you don't believe it, and then it gets better. It always does. But the hardest time was actually one of the security guards at Lawrence High. I had made it very clear, because it was before I'd buzzed it. So I had a pixie, but it was huge bald spot on the top of my head. And I just, like, you could not pay me any amount of money to go back to feeling the way that I felt in high school. And I was so humiliated. I was so embarrassed. So I wore a hat every day, or a beanie. I wore a ball cap, whatever I could, to just cover up that bald spot. And all the teachers were aware, security guards were aware, all the little assistant principals, I don't know why there were 5 of them, but there were. They all knew. Everybody knew. It was spoken on that I know it was a rule not to wear hats. I had a medical exemption, because how humiliating to walk around with a bald spot when you're 14, you know? And there was a time in the like rotunda area, and I was sitting there at lunch because I had anxiety and I didn't want to sit in the lunchroom. And the security guard was like, "You need to take off your hat." And I was like, "Oh no, I have a medical exemption. There was an email sent out, like, you can go check it, but like I'm not taking my hat off. Like, that's not happening." And he, after a bit of a back and forth where he's like, "You have to take it off. You have to take it off," he snatched it off of my head in the middle of the rotunda. And all these kids who had no idea what I was going through saw this huge bald spot on the top of my head. And that man's face turned white as a sheet. He knew he fucked up when he did that. And I'd say it wasn't even a month later that I shaved it, and I just started wearing my hair buzzed. And yeah, so that guy, I mean, he was so apologetic the rest of my high school career. He never talked to me again. I probably could have smoked a joint walking down the hallway and he wouldn't have said a thing, because he was so embarrassed. I was a good kid in high school, but you know, but yeah, that was definitely the worst. And back to Emily again, she was my fiercest protector in high school. Like, anytime somebody said anything about my hair, she was on them. She wasn't letting anybody get, like, even though she and I would fight, there was never a time that my hair was ever brought into it. There was no point when she would make fun of me for it. And anybody who did, even if we were, you know, fighting at the time, because that's what high school girls do, she was very fiercely protective of that. And then there was a teacher, Andy Bricker. He was great. He was the astronomy teacher.
Excuse me.
And he was a really great guy. He would always, you know, I was going through some pretty rough stuff when I was in his class, and he would always check on me. That was, I remember that so vividly, that even, you know, nobody really, I kind of made myself invisible, but he saw me, and he, like, not in a weird way, but like, you know, he would, "How are you? Are you doing okay today? I just want to check in. If you need anything, let me know." Like, very subtle, nothing weird. He would just, like, sometimes he would send me an email and would just be like, "Just checking to make sure you're okay. You looked kind of down today, making sure you're good." Like you know, there were a lot of teachers like that, but he sticks out the most for me, I think. That he just kind of always made like a point. And it wasn't just me though. Like there were tons of other kids that were going through some really, that I was friends with, and that he was that for them too. That so I think those are really the two. Mr. Brooker, Emily, and then that security guard yanking the hat off my head was. I'll never forget that day ever in my life. That was a feeling that I would never. Yeah, I'd never like to feel that level of humiliation ever again. That was real bad.
Well, thank you for sharing those.
Yeah.
It's I think a lot of teachers don't get enough credit because the impact that they can have.
That's probably why I became a teacher, honestly. Him and there were a couple others, but he's one of the big ones.
Did you ever have Mr. Stiles?
I didn't. I heard great things though. I never had him.
Never wanted to be a teacher. Mm-hmm. And after having him, I thought about being a teacher just because like his influence.
They mean a lot, and it is a blessing to get to, my kids are so young. They'll never remember me.
No, they'll remember. Some will.
They're toddlers. They don't even remember what shoes they have on, like at the moment.
3 and 4?
2 to 3.
Oh, 2 to 3. Okay.
Littles. I would like to move up in age group, but that's just where I am now. But honestly, like I worked with infants for a year, and I think the coolest thing is like they may not remember me, but I get to teach them very cool lessons right now at this age. I have one of my kids who started hitting and doing all this stuff, and he went from being a big hitter and push and shove, and now like if a little kid falls down on the plate, because I made a big deal, if he pushed, I'd be like, oh, and I'd look at like whoever he pushed and be like, oh my goodness, like are you okay? And like now he stopped pushing, but if another kid like falls on a bike, he'll go, oh my god, like are you okay? And he'll give him a kiss, he'll give him a hug, he'll make sure they're all right, so he may never remember who I am, but he will remember that he knows.
He learned that from you.
Like they mirror those things. And I'm a big bug person, obviously. I really like bugs. Got them tattooed. It's my thing. So we don't kill bugs in my classroom. You get in trouble if you kill bugs in my classroom. It's inappropriate. And there were a couple kids that used to be really scared of bugs that now if they like see a cool one, they'll like pick it up and bring it to me. They'll be like, look, Issa, look what I got. It's like, now you're not going to be scared of creepy crawlies because I'm not scared of them. And I'm showing you like, not to crush nature. Please don't do that. Oh my God, those are living things. Don't, like I know that spider in your apartment's really scary, but like he's just your roommate, dog. Just move him outside if you don't want him there. Like, come on. So they may not remember me, but getting to have just the slightest bit of influence is really, really cool stuff. And hearing them talk for the first time and just all that stuff I'm very blessed to get to be a part of what I do.
It's a really fun opportunity to be around that youthful, that young, that
untouched by anything negative.
They don't know, like, they're sad because they fell, or they're sad because they couldn't play with a toy, or they're sad because their friend can't hang out, and
frustrated because they can't do something.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about Montessori, which is what I do, is that I don't step in. I'll wait. You can do it. I know you can. Children are fully capable people. They're not these like little mindless things that you need to guide constant. They're fully capable. They're human beings. Yeah. Like they come from the body, whole human beings. They are. They're like, there's no, like, obviously they need guidance, but like they're their own person. They have their own thoughts, their own feelings, their own opinions. Even if they can't communicate it, they are whole people. And so I have one kid right now who is really struggling with this one. It's so silly, but it's like a buckle. We have like these little dressing frames and it's like a buckle, and he can't do it. He gets so mad. He gets so frustrated. And he was doing it, just the other week, and he finally got it. And I didn't help him. And he did it all by himself. And I was like, yeah, look at you. I didn't help you and you did it. So now he gets to feel the satisfaction versus like if the adult is constantly stepping. And like another thing, like a kid who can't get her Crocs on.
Yeah.
She can't pull that little tab because she doesn't have the fine motor skills yet. She just doesn't have it to get that.
Yeah.
And so I said, you can walk out with you stepping on it. That's fine. You can, your shoe's still on. And then, when they finally are successful and they can get that shoe on and they can, buckle their Velcro and like, you don't touch it, then they get to have the win.
Yeah.
They get the win. And that's really special when they, it's better than, constantly having an adult do it for you or hand over hand guide it. Like if they get to have that win, how much confidence does that bring somebody who's been on the earth for 24 months and then they do it all by themselves and nobody helping them? Like, oh, what a win. How exciting. Like you celebrate that stuff. I do potty training too. The first time that they take themselves to the bathroom. All the teachers are like, good job, you peed in the potty. Everyone's excited. It's exciting. Look at you, that independence that just gave you. You don't need somebody to, change you constantly now, because look, you can take yourself. How exciting. What a level of independence you now have doing that. And it's very exciting stuff. I really enjoy what I do. If you can't tell, I'm a big fan. It's fun.
Can you give me the definition of monastery?
Montessori.
Montessori.
No, you're good. It gets confused all the time. So I did it as a kid. So Maria Montessori founded it. I'm gonna butcher it. I'm gonna feel really bad if I butcher it. Basically, the bare bones description of Montessori is the idea that children are, like I said, whole, capable people. So like my classroom is set up, everything's child sized. Like our shelves are about this height, and there's two, and they can pick a material off the shelf. They complete the task on it, whether it's like scooping beans into a bowl, or, buckling a frame, or opening and closing different kinds of containers, which they love doing because they're little and, they don't know we don't have toys in the classroom. That's not something we have.
Oh.
Yeah, we don't do, like, we play outside, and then, we have like a rainy day play cart for like recess because we can't go outside for recess, but they work. They have a class time, work time. And so cool. The children are independent. So they choose what they would like to do. They do it, they put it away, and they get that sense of accomplishment of doing. So it's basically just fostering independence for children. I did Montessori all the way up through 7th grade. And so it goes from pushing in a chair and buckling a frame to planning an entire trip for your whole class, and mapping it out on paper maps, and budgeting, going to the grocery store to buy food for camping, and paying for the tent, and learning how much it costs. We built a chicken coop and raised 60 chickens, and that kind of like hands-on real life, like when you're going shopping, here's your budget. You have to factor in tax though. So let's teach you what taxes are and why they're here and how to budget for them. Let's do, like it's teaching and truly preparing the child for real life. Like obviously, yeah, we still learn English and math and all that stuff, but children are being prepared to be independent, functional adults. And I would not be the person I am if I didn't go to Montessori school. And I feel really lucky to get to teach in this. I'm co-workers with my 1st grade teacher. Shout out Miss Lisa. She, love her. But like, and my boss was my 7th grade teacher. Like, this kind of, it's people who work there don't leave. Like it is truly like its own world, and it's all over the world. It's more common in other countries than it is in the United States. And I wish it was more common here, because it's private school. It's expensive. It's not accessible to people that don't, their parents aren't rich. And I'm lucky that my mom was, and I got to have that growing up, because now I get to do it for other kids. And it's a really special thing to just like, but that's basically what Montessori is. It's just preparing children for real life. They work a lot spend a lot of time in nature, a lot of time independent.
Does it stop at 7th grade?
Raintree stops at 8th. We couldn't afford it after 7th, so we left. Okay. So I left, and I didn't do 4th through 6th there, and then I went back for 7th, and then I went to, but it's a really cool space. They garden by themselves. They walk around campus alone, with no teacher watching them, because they're humans. I trust you. I trust you. That's like the best thing you can say to a child is, I trust you.
Yeah.
I trust you. Go.
Yeah.
There's a ton of staff in the building. If I see a child walking around, I'll make sure, hey, what class are you in? Whose class are you? Oh, okay. Gotcha. And then if I hear it on the walkie, like, hey, I have a student who's supposed to be back. Oh, I saw them, but that never happens, because when you trust a child, they're going to match that. If you're constantly telling a child, you can't do this, you can't do that, you're too young, you're too this, you're too that, they're never going to do it. But if you tell a child, oh, hey, can you go back to the kitchen? We are out of this for lunch. Can you go to the kitchen and grab some? Then they do. And they go and they talk to the chef, they get their extra food, and they walk back to their classroom. Because when you say, I trust you to a child, they really want to keep that trust. Yeah. They really do.
It's like the, what's the thing where it's, I don't remember what it's called, but it's like you kind of put on to that person, like, hey, you're a really good friend. Like if I tell you, hey, you're a really good friend, then you're going to want to hold that. You're going to want to meet that standard. You're going to want to be like, you know what? Yeah, I am going to prove to that person that I am a good friend. But it's cool that you say that, because that's cool how they do that, because a lot of, in like some of the monk teachings, you'll have kids being teachers.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter the age.
They teach each other all the time. Like so much. I just watched something yesterday. One of my kids dumped a bowl of beans all over the floor. They do like scooping work. It's for their motor skills. And 3 other children got up from what they were doing to help him clean up. And none of these staff did anything. They cleaned up together. He helped him pick it back up and carry it back to that these kids, it's so cool to watch the older children guiding these younger children. And sometimes they get a little bit too, they want justice for everything. You peed on the floor. Well, okay, yeah, he's been here for 2 weeks. He doesn't know how to pee on the toilet yet. Give him a break, Yeah. But like they really, when you give back, when you show kindness to a child and you demonstrate that, like that skill of being kind, of being there for the community, of giving back, and you constantly are harping on it and displaying it yourself, children learn by watching. Yeah. So if they're watching you be a good person, they're going to be good people. Yeah. Just how it goes. Yeah. It's just how it is. And it's really, really fun to be a part of.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool. I'm definitely going to look more into that because that's...
You should. It's really cool.
It's not something I'm too familiar with. I mean, I always knew what Raintree was. I thought it was just like a private elementary school.
It is kind of, but it's
more than that.
It is. It's a lot more than that. It's a community, really. Yeah. I mean, they have goats now. Yeah, I have scars. I've got a scar right here from peeling a kiwi with a potato peeler. Got lead in my arm here. Oh. Just like scars and bumps and bruises because we let kids be kids. Yeah. So if I'm telling you that you're gonna fall down from that and you're not getting down, I'm gonna let you fall down. Fall, get hurt. Natural consequences. If you, like I said, if children are leaving the classroom and they're gonna be silly and they're not gonna go back to their room, you can't leave the classroom anymore. Natural consequences. Yeah. And then if I trust, and then you build up the trust again. You let them. You want to constantly give them chances, but getting those natural consequences has taught me very well now as an adult to like think before I do stuff and like recognize that there are going to be consequences to my actions. And I made a silly choice to peel something with a potato peeler, even though my teacher told me that I should just use a knife, and now I have a scar. And I look back at it and I'm like, that's so funny. Like, how silly of me. And it's cool. It's a cool, really cool place. Pick up a snake, you're gonna get bit. Did get bit. It was a garter snake, so obviously she wasn't gonna let me like die or anything. Yeah. How many crawdads we pulled out of you're gonna get pinched. No, we won't. Got pinched. Not gonna pull a crawdad out of the rocks anymore. Like it's a really cool place. It's definitely more than an elementary school, but at the same time you're still doing all of it. But yeah.
Before we end it, I want to ask, is there anything that you want to close with? Is there any saying? Is there any phrase? Is there any story? I don't know how we're doing on time either. I can't tell.
Ooh, okay. Getting there. Good. Yeah, right at the end. I don't know.
And if not, that's fine too.
I was going to say pretty much just what I said earlier. You always think it's not going to get better, but constantly does. It's not going to get better. Yeah, it is. Yeah. It always does. So.
And do you want to shout out any of your socials? You don't have to. Any of your socials or anything that you want to shout out just in general?
Sure. My Trichotillomania account is trick.journal. That's TRICH.journal. And then my regular Instagram is just isacounts, ISACOUNTS. So
and I'll put both. Me. If not,
I do model. If y'all ever need a model, let me know.
I'll put stuff in the information in the bio.
Perfect.
But thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate you. It was really fun.
This was fun.
I got to learn so much about you because there's so much I didn't know about you.
Yeah,
So
got some lore.
But it is cool too because I do keep these podcasts shorter. So if you ever want to run it back, if you want to talk about other stuff, if you ever want to bring up a different more stories, I always have it open for anyone to come on, anyone to continue. Cool. So
awesome. Thank you. This was fun.
Appreciate it. Yeah. Thank y'all. That's going to do it for this video. If you have any questions, as always, leave them in the comments below. But besides that, peace and love. Catch us because.